let me ask you something. And answer honestly, okay? Have you ever felt completely exhausted in your marriage, but you can't even explain why? On paper, everything looks fine. You're married. You have a family. People might even say you're lucky. But inside, you feel small, confused, drained, and somehow always guilty. If that sounds familiar, this video is for you. Not to judge you, not to tell you to leave, not to tell you what you should do, just to help you survive. Mentally, emotionally, without losing yourself completely. First, I need to say this clearly. If you're married to someone with narcissistic traits, and you're still there, that does not mean you're weak. Not at all. Most of the time, it means you're responsible. You're empathetic. You think about consequences, about your children, about money, about stability, about real life. And almost no one talks about that part. People love to say, just leave. Know your worth. I would never allow that. But real life isn't Instagram quotes, you know? Real life is complicated. And sometimes leaving is not possible, or not safe, or not realistic right now. So if you're staying, you deserve tools, not shame. Living with a narcissistic partner usually doesn't start dramatically. It's subtle. It feels like you're always explaining yourself. You apologize even when you did nothing wrong. Your emotions are too much. Your needs are selfish. And somehow, everything becomes your fault. You start doubting your own memory. You think, did I overreact? Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe I'm the problem. And that confusion, that mental fog, is not accidental. Narcissistic dynamics slowly train you to distrust yourself and rely on their version of reality. Not always because they're evil, but because control is what makes them feel safe. Here's something very important I need you to hear. You cannot change a narcissistic partner. Not by explaining better, not by loving harder, not by being more patient, not by sacrificing more. And no, that doesn't mean you failed. It means you're dealing with a personality structure that avoids accountability at all costs. So survival isn't about fixing the marriage. It's about protecting your inner world while living inside a system that constantly invalidates it. That's the shift. One of the biggest energy drains in these marriages is over-explaining. You explain your tone, your intention, your feelings, again and again and again, hoping that this time they'll understand. But the truth is, they already understand. They just don't agree, or they don't care. So survival means learning something uncomfortable. Say less, not because you're weak, but because your energy is precious. You don't owe long explanations to someone who later uses them as weapons. Short responses, neutral tone, calm delivery, not to win, but to preserve yourself. Now, this next part is subtle, but powerful. Detachment doesn't mean indifference, and it doesn't mean abandoning your family. It means you stop trying to be emotionally understood by them. You stop expecting empathy where it's never existed. You stop making them your emotional home. Instead, you build emotional safety inside yourself with safe friends, online communities, therapy, even journaling. You redirect your emotional needs to places where they can actually be met. And that alone reduces more suffering than people realize. This part is crucial. In narcissistic marriages, everything feels observed, evaluated, controlled. So survival often requires something very quiet, a private inner life, thoughts you don't share, dreams you protect, plans you don't announce. Not because you're being dishonest, but because not everyone deserves access to your inner world. That's where autonomy begins. And slowly, That private space becomes a refuge. This next part hurts. I know. Many people stay emotionally stuck, waiting for closure, an apology, accountability, recognition of the pain. That moment when they finally say, "You were right." But narcissistic dynamics rarely offer closure. So survival means grieving the marriage you thought you had while still being in it. It hurts, but it also frees you, because when you stop waiting, you regain emotional movement. Let me say this softly. Surviving doesn't mean you'll stay forever, and it doesn't mean you have to leave tomorrow. It simply means that today, you choose to protect your mind. You're allowed to take things step by step, without pressure, without dramatic decisions. You're not late. You're not broken. You're adapting. If this video made you feel seen, even a little, then maybe you're not as alone as you thought. There are many people surviving quietly, thinking deeply, loving responsibly, and learning how to protect themselves inside impossible situations. So if you want a space where your story isn't judged, where complexity is respected, and where leaving isn't the only answer, stay here. You deserve clarity. You deserve peace. And you deserve to exist how you're actually feeling. Here, you can share your story anonymously, at your own pace. No names, no pressure, no fixing. Not so someone can tell you what to do, but so you can release what you've been carrying and stop holding it alone. If you feel the need to write, we're here. And if you want to keep listening to stories that don't simplify real life and that respect complicated processes, subscribe. This space is for those who are surviving quietly and deserve to be heard, even if it's just once, without judgment.